Hi, Ken.
Hi.
Recording is on.
I got your goodies, Frank.
Recording
good.
is on.
Well, I got the letter, and then I got the display board.
Okay. And there's one more package coming.
Oh, okay. Thank
There's
you.
Frank. There's Frank, yeah.
I don't think I'm going to touch it. I'm just going to use it the way it is.
Well, that's what you said, so that's okay too.
Yeah. Like, why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah.
You know, and then maybe later on I can use it to make another display.
Yeah. You can use it as a guide and make one up for buildathon.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
How many people do we have now?
No problem.
I think we got quorum. We got
Six.
1, 2,
Plus us. 8.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
9,
6,
10, 11.
7. Yeah.
It's N plus 3.
Kevin? You're at home already?
No, he's
I
driving.
can never figure out what to do with the lighting in here.
Kevin, eyes on the road.
Yeah. I'm just pulled over to get set up here, and then I'm going incognito.
So Kevin's going. So Kevin's going home. I take it.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm on my way. So
Okay.
I'm going to turn the microphone off, so I'm just going to listen, all right?
Okay.
Yep.
Kevin, what before you do, what radios do you have? Did you have up there?
I was just using the 897,
Okay.
the Yaesu.
The 897. Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, guys.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'll be listening.
Thanks for making the effort to patch in, Kevin. Okay, so good evening, everybody. So that's good. Look, we're all in frame. This is awesome. So coming to
Buddies.
live from Sparrow Lake. This is Wednesday AF Mixer. I don't know, whatever. I'm trying. So
Keep your
I
day
was just
job.
told 10 minutes ago by my buddy Peter here that I'm hosting this meeting. I know it was on the schedule for like the last 6 months, but you know, who reads schedules? So anyway, a little bit of winging it, but I think the only thing on the agenda is right now, unless I'm told otherwise, the recent trip that Hassan and I made to New Jersey, the Vintage Computer Festival East, which was an amazing event. You know what? We should. Can you turn that down a bit? That looks looking at the ceiling too much. I don't like that. There we go. That makes me.
Everyone's
better.
now throwing up.
No, the
All right.
reflection's gone from this.
So yes, we've actually just had three great days up here at the cottage. Had both Michael and Kevin, who came up on Monday, as well as Dave and Peter. Michael and Kevin left earlier today. Kevin not so long ago. Hassan just arrived, so he's
Kevin
gonna
ate
be
bread.
here. And Kevin, yeah, hopefully he doesn't get indigestion from concentrating on the road as well as digesting. So anyway, so yeah, we've had a little mini, I don't know what you want to call this here, a few days at Eric's cottage. Not really a ham fest, but we did a lot of things, everything but buying and selling, I guess. But we had a lot of lively discussions. I've been working on my basic exam so that I can actually become a ham in Canada.
Seriously.
And doing very well, actually. I'm even correcting some of the gurus sometimes. Not correcting, but getting right answers when they're not. So I feel good.
We just wanted to make you feel good.
We weren't supposed to tell him until tomorrow.
Anyway.
No, nobody told him that Dave's going to be his examiner.
He's already got a glove ready.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, so yeah, that is that. Does anybody have anything to add to the agenda for this evening? It's informal, so you can talk about whatever, and if you want to leave it for the roundtable discussion, that's fine too. So, any comments that anybody wants to?
I guess I was going to talk about what we did, right?
Okay, yeah, right. That's
Yeah, I was going to do that after.
that
We
was
were
right.
going to
Start that discussion anyway.
We were going to do a talk. Each one of us was going to chime in and say what we did
okay.
over the past couple of days.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah.
All right. Anyone else?
Why don't you do your presentation first, and then come back to that.
Okay. All right. Did you? Yeah. Okay.
To your wrong album. It's your today hand days of Eric's college.
Oh, okay. Interesting. How are we going to do that? All right. So I am going to share my screen here. Interesting. This is going to be, Huh. I think, Michael, we're going to have to do a combined. No, actually, I know, because it'll be chronological order. We're having some technical difficulties, but no, we can figure this out.
I sort of misunderstood. I thought that you wanted me to sort of talk about what people did.
Yeah.
Now
No.
a round table works too. It doesn't matter to me.
Sorry, no, I'm mumbling about the photos that both Hassan and I took at the Vintage Computer Festival. So we're going to do, this actually kind of works because I can talk about things I saw and did and whatever, and then Hassan can do the same. They're just in two different spots, so not a problem. So let me start up screen sharing here. This, right? And I want to share.
Just say your entire
tab.
screen.
I think I can do this, right? So, oh, look, we can get feedback here. So, and can I zoom in? All right, everybody should see that, right?
Yep.
All right, oops, okay. So, although what I am going to do, what I actually kind of want to do here, I wanted to read out something. So give me a sec while I have this. As you can tell, I'm totally unprepared for this. Bottom line is, it was an awesome event. I think everybody that went there was, well, at least for the first time, was kind of blown away by what they saw. Would you kind of agree, Hassan?
Yeah. It was a special time.
Yeah. Sorry, let me just pull it up here, because I think they'd probably they'd summarize it a little better than I could. Vintage computer. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to read their little summary here, a couple paragraphs. This was posted by Tom Nardi, who's a regular on Hackaday, if any of your followers of that. But he writes, when I arrived at the Info Age Science and History Museum for this year's Vintage Computer Festival East, I fully expected it to be a reduced event compared to last year. After all, how could it not? Due to the schedule getting shifted around by COVID, showrunner Jeffrey Brace and his team had just 6 months to put together an event that usually gets planned over the course of an entire year. With such a truncated preparation time, they more than deserved a little slack. But as anyone who attended VCF East 2022 can attest, they didn't need it. Not only did the event meet the high expectations set by last year's festival, it managed to exceed them. There were more workshops, more talks, more vendors, more consignment rooms, more live screens, more, well, everything. This year's program even got a splash of glossy color compared to the grayscale handout attendees received in October. It was, by any metric you care to use, better than ever. It does, however, leave me in somewhat of an unenviable position. As we've learned during the pandemic, a virtual representation of an event as extensive as VCF can give you a taste of what's offered, but all the nuance is lost. Looking at pictures of somebody's passion project can't compare to actually meeting the person and seeing that glint of pride in their eye as they walk you through all the details. So if you go to the Hackaday's summary of the VCF, you can see some pictures and more summary of what Tom talks about there. And some of it is what we have as well. So as he summarizes, no matter their age or background, everyone I spoke to at the 2022 Vintage Computer Festival had nothing but positive things to say about the event. At the end of the day, even my own 11-year-old daughter, who usually spends her free time digging holes in Minecraft, was impressed. I'd say she came away from the event a bit wiser as well. There's something about spending an afternoon toggling programs into the front panel of a mini computer that makes the previously incomprehensible magic inside a modern smartphone seem quaint in comparison. She says she's excited to go next year, not just in the "Dad says I have to go" way either. Part of the appeal, and this is really important, part of the appeal is no doubt the InfoH campus itself, which is a museum, science museum, which offers an incredible array of exhibits for VCF explorers to explore, visitors to explore. Seriously, where else is there a shipwreck museum in walking distance of an operational radio telescope? But even still, the passionate members of the VCF, that's the Vintage Computer Federation, I can't see my shirt, are able to craft an event that manages to enthrall guests that aren't even half as old as the computers or equipment on display. It's frankly a minor miracle. Considering this year's theme was computers for the masses, I'd say they nailed it. So anyway, a fantastic event. So what you see on the screen, if anyone's still on the call, is a picture of the first workshop that I attended, which was a 6502 assembly, like introduction class. So they had a bank of about 12 Apple IIe's, circa 1983, 84, 83, I guess. Set up, all perfectly functioning from old school boards. There's 7 or 8 million of them produced, and we were doing some basic, is it called poking?
Peeking and poking.
Into the registers directly in assembly. So not very much was covered in this 60-minute seminar, of course, could dig too deep. But for that, you'd go to the advanced programming seminar, and these were held throughout the workshop that were held throughout the event. So that's a look at it from the other side. So yeah, that was kind of cool. All of these working computers, and interestingly, the guy who set these computers up, brought them, was selling them off at the end of the event. So if you wanted your own little piece of kit to take home, you could, to relive some years if Apple was something that you fondled back in the day. So. And the interesting thing is the guy who put this on said he realized he had a problem when he took all these out to bring to the show and looked back at his pile of them and said it looked the same, didn't even make a dent in them. So he says he has a storage container full of just like Apple IIe's and then other storage containers with other computers in them. So for anyone who says I have a problem, no. So interesting things on offer at the consignment table. So a couple rooms filled with equipment, anything and everything you could think of was there as far as old. A lot of it's junk. I mean, kind of like the Boneyard at the Ham Fests. But, there were some interesting finds too. I came back with a nice 24-inch Dell monitor for $30, but it has composite input, so I can actually pipe my Apple IIe, which I brought home with me, into it, and instead of looking at it in the green screen that it came with, I can look at it in its glorious color that Apple IIs were able to pipe out. So a little crude, but it works. This was probably the advanced class, because I can see that we're talking about going a little bit deeper into things. I'm guessing that's what that looks like to me anyway. So this was the what was it called, the destructive computer lab, I think, or something like that.
The computer destruction lab.
Computer CDL, computer destruction lab. So this was a room that was used for people that wanted to solder together some of the kits that one of the entities was selling there. 6502 boards. What else was there? I can't remember. I have a list somewhere. But anyway, the maker space, hacker space, or whatever, had lots of little things to look at. Their laser cutters and whatever else, racks of server equipment. In behind, it's actually the old switching racks for the museum, which was, I think, formerly barracks or something like that. It looked very much like a military institution of some sort. In fact, actively used by cadets. There were columns of very young cadets in training that were marching around, well, maybe even younger than cadets, but whatever. They were teenagers anyway. So what else? Poster on the wall with a little trip down Commodore memory lane, ones that I'd never even heard of before, some of these units, but very nostalgic because, you know, things that I cut my teeth on, like the Commodore PET back in the late 70s was there. And just finding out the things you can, you know, still get today, you know, replicas of the Kim 1, which is Commodore's first. The reason that the event was very Commodore centric is it's the 40th anniversary of the introduction in 1982 of the Commodore 64, which I'm sure that more than a few on this call had in their possession. So anyway, so this was a talk by, again, I forget his name. Hassan, you might remember the, I think you were talking to him.
Oh, perfect.
Jens or something like that from Scandinavia,
Yeah.
right?
Swedish name.
Swedish, yeah. Oh, that's it, yeah. Anyway, he was, his was a 128 project, right? Called the 128. Yeah. Johan, that's him. Anyway, yeah, Hassan can maybe talk a little bit more about him because he was they were talking with each other. 18-meter radio telescope, operational, that was open to the public after a day or two of us being there. They opened it up and it was pretty much free, come and go. They did a presentation for us. Unfortunately, it wasn't in operation when we were there, but it is operatable. The patron is Princeton University, which is about 45 minutes to the west of east would be in the ocean, but 45 minutes to the west. So they're actively involved in that. That's the name of the place, Info Age Science History Learning Center and Museum, which is very appropriate. So that was really the gem of going to this event. I mean, we kind of knew based on the website what we were getting into with the VCF, but the museum was totally unexpected. We barely scratched the surface of, you know, looking through the rooms, you know, walking pace, more or less. Everything from World War II, Korean War, military vehicles of various descriptions, you know, no tanks or anything, but like personnel carriers, jeeps, that kind of thing. Some of them that actually worked. You could turn the key and it would fire up. So very extensive and comprehensive, I should say, radio museum there, war museums, a shipwreck museum. I didn't even get to a shipwreck museum. Or at least I don't recall seeing that. Here was an interesting thing, a actual working Enigma machine. So there was a couple representatives from an auction house that were showing this off. And I'm not sure if it's sold. I don't know if you heard anything about that or.
We auctioned in a few months.
Okay, so it was just on display. But yeah, it was that was kind of neat. I've never been, you know, close enough that you could almost touch it. They didn't want you touching it, but it was touchable. So no idea what the minimum or starting bid was on that. Again, one of the first few computers that I used, some may recognize this, fully functional TRS-80 with all the bells and whistles. I certainly didn't have, you know, the extra expansion bus here, and then there's new things. This is actually a new piece of kit. And that's kind of the interesting thing about all of these computers is that people are still actively making devices that, you know, and putting, you know, period appropriate labels on them to interface. You know, you can see an Ethernet port there. I believe this is also a hard drive controller. But you know, there's another project we came across called FujiNet, which is essentially any 6502 based computer putting an IP stack on it so that it can connect to the internet. And there is some proof of concepts going on there, and some that I think just even being introduced for the first time there, showing you know, IRC clients on a Commodore 64, for instance. So that was just in front of the radio telescope. This is inside at the control panel of the radio telescope. So again, we were just seeing static images, but had an interesting discussion from some of the operators of this installation. I guess I have to stop it. That is not just a replica of the Vanguard satellite, but one that could have gone up as an alternate. So they have one on display, and that was kind of cool with operating solar panels and all. Modules from the guidance computer and a book. And the author of the book actually was the person who gave a talk, this Frank O'Brien. He was the person who we stayed around and chatted with for some time afterwards as well. So kind of neat to see that there. There's a close-up of some of the modules from it. So there's Vanguard. Okay, this is inside the the radio museum at the InfoAge. I don't know how, probably 75-foot long room of, everything from the basic, the invention of, crystal radios right up to modern equipment was on display here. They had some operating positions here where I presume that they, actually do some show and tell and other operations with people. So working teletype machine that was put, but printing off current news, like Russian-Ukraine war things. Somebody's interfaced the teletype into the internet. So kind of cool. That was a panel. So as I mentioned, 40th anniversary of the 64's introduction. So these are the 13 disciples, people that had, some of them given talks and others not, throughout the weekend. Again, developers of the Commodore products. Bill Hurd here is quite well known, I think, for that. Some others here, again, names are escaping me. This fellow,
Charpentier.
Sure, yeah, Al Charpentier seemed to be heavily involved. This fellow here as well, Frank, I believe. Dave Henny. Well, thank you, Hassan. So, but anyway, so quite the history, and they were having again specific discussions on their involvement with Commodore, and then just sort of a fireside chat that was going on. And in the exhibitors area, which was totally separate from the workshops and the presentations and the consignment, there are many displays in multiple rooms. So I'm sure those of you who know recognize this. One of the first computers, I think, that could play Space War, which was actually functioning on the screens. You could play it. And just amazing looking at the complexity of, some of these things. I mean, that's just one panel that was on the front of it. And there was something about 4 times as large on the side panel. And I had a chat with a guy, and you certainly did see the glint in the eye that that Tom Nerdy was talking about in that Hackaday article. Just looking at this and having someone who can point out, oh yeah, like I've had to splice some things in here because, I'm just with my mouth open, thinking, how do you jaw-dropping things that people are still maintaining and actively able to, discuss. So anyway, I mean, well before my time in computers, but nice to see. So there's a VIC-20. So what else? It's another radio telescope shot. They did have it swinging around for us, so we did see it moving, which at times has been a problem. Apparently, it's been there a long time. Probably dates from the 50s, 60s, something like that. So it's showing a little bit of signs of wear. There's another person who's operating and talked to us for some time about it. And I think that is pretty, well, no, that's the Jersey Shore, the beach at Jersey Shore. It was a trip that we took out there after the close of events. So, what else? A poster in one of the museum rooms, probably the wartime room. So, what else? Oh, yes, that was in the radio museum. So they had a camera that was piping into an old Crosley receiver there, I suppose, which was kind of nifty. There was some of the military vehicles that were on display, and again, barely had time to look at this. It was more just go into the hangar storage area and gawk at it for a little while. So that's a panoramic view of sort of the central area where the festival is taking place, but that gives you an idea. They were all like low-rise, kind of barracks-looking buildings that had been converted into a museum. So that was dinner. That was Atlantic City, and I think we're actually pretty close because this is all just a trip that we took for a day to New York City. So afterwards, while we were down there. So anyway, quite an awesome event. Was very, very, very pleased with the time spent. I've known about the event for several years, but this is the first time that really had easy opportunity to go down and spend a few days geeking out. So there we are. I think we've narrowed our frame of view, haven't we? No,
it's fine. It's just the view.
Yeah. Okay.
If we click on this, you'll get the
See all
whole.
four of us. Okay, good stuff. All right. So Hassan, did you want to?
You covered it.
Yeah, that was. You want to add?
No, I think that's actually. There's one or two slides I'll show.
That you want to show? Okay.
You got to go to your.
Yep. All right. So let me get in, and I will pass the.
Okay. So if you
to
scroll down a bit.
What I'll do is I'll just start sharing.
Right. So just go. You can just scroll it.
And
type up.
that.
Okay.
So there you go.
Scroll right. Next. That's the radio telescope, and that's another Canadian we met down there.
Oh, Bob.
He lives on my
You're better with
street.
names than me. Craig? No. Brian.
He does
Brian.
Yeah,
Brian.
close.
But he looks like Bob.
No.
And look at the shirt.
And I did get
Eric.
just a few. Maybe there were more hams there, but only a few actually called me on my shirt. So yeah.
The one thing about this radio telescope is I think it said, look at that, it's a dish in operation, visitors welcome. That's how you can tell this dish is in America and not Canada.
Mm.
They actually welcomed visitors there, and they were, it was all wide open. Next one.
Yeah.
This is a place called Camp Evans. We looked for Captain America, didn't find him. Apparently, when they brought Werner, what's his name?
Von
Werner
Braun.
Braun,
Yeah.
the Nazi scientist, they housed them here in this camp. So there's a lot of rooms there that are now museums. So keep going. That's the same thing, Apollo guidance computer.
That's the teletype.
That's the Commodore crew. There's Eric with a wartime poster.
Yeah,
that was
taking
Eric
a picture of that. Who's that bald guy?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So this was what room was this? This was like a workshop or something, wasn't it?
The
Or
next slide.
Yeah.
It's some kind of it's all just a museum kind of thing.
yeah. So I think actually that's where they like repair things. So vintage sign for even the repair shop.
We use RCA tubes.
Yeah.
Yeah, only the best. That's I think that's PDP-8
Same, yeah.
telescope. This is them playing Pong in New Jersey.
I remember that game.
Yeah, there's a whole retro arcade there, which was just as much fun.
We saw somewhere else they had this too, didn't they?
At the museum.
At the
itself.
museum, yeah, the museum itself. This is not the museum.
Yeah, it's the Stronger guy. They had just at the radio telescope. They just had regular SDRs in the console, and I think they had a Kenwood receiver.
Yep, there's a Kenwood. I forget what model it is, but it's plain old. I don't know, 590 maybe or something. So
That's a Cray computer.
Oh,
I
look at
never even
that.
saw that. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, this was in the place where they kicked me out. Yeah.
Oh, to be on time.
Yeah. Wow.
Nice style.
Yeah.
It's not the Cray, which has a sofa built in.
Yeah,
Right.
that's got the
seat.
hemoglobin.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, is that was it operational?
This thing?
Yeah.
Everything was
I
operational.
think everything kind of worked.
This is one of the supercomputers then.
Yeah, it's a crate.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Never seen one.
Look at that stop button on the top.
And the money jar.
Stop button.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard U of T bought one of these, and they had the big ones, and they had to open a hole in the roof and get a crane to lower it down.
A crane for the Cray.
Yeah,
Crane.
I want to get one of these on the next computer I buy. A big red button on the top.
Yeah.
a whole 15 MIPS. No, just kidding.
Anyway, oh, that's cool. Okay, never knew.
So this is some other analog computer. I think 1958.
Yep.
So the next one,
I guess I'll just back it around.
you can do the left arrow, right arrow.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the same one.
Same one. Yeah.
And then that's just the terminal.
Yeah, that's a VT
It
100.
looks. Yeah, I was going to say what.
That's a VT 100.
digital.
Yeah, it's
130.
zoom in. It's a VT 100.
180.
Yeah, well, it's VT 100 vintage.
Yeah, yeah.
I used to use those with on the VAX VMS.
When you go have a terminal in Linux, it still uses the VT100 commands.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
That's how you get the arrow keys and all that to work.
It was funny actually. On the Apple IIs, that when we were coding them, it did have a backspace key, but they had not yet by that time implemented it, so it didn't do anything. It wasn't a destructive backspace. You had to use the arrow keys and just do type overs. So
What about an any key?
yeah, no any keys. Nope.
That's an Apple One.
Yeah.
It was working too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it worked there.
And these things go for thousands of dollars.
Look at the size of the caps.
It's probably restored partially.
Yep.
The museum has 2 of each computer, 1 in storage, so the ones in display were actually working. You want to type them.
Where's the Apple key?
Look, it's connected to a phone.
To a phone?
Yeah, look at the side.
Oh, this.
It's connected to a phone.
That's how you load programs instead of a cassette drive. So one guy there, he figured out how to load BASIC. Then we reset the thing. I flipped the power switch and I turned it on and saw garbage on the screen. So he's like, "You broke it." But then the other guy came in and said, "No, you have to press Control Reset. You don't just press the reset button."
Right.
And then it resets.
Wait a sec. Isn't that an an iPhone 0.9 from 1977? I don't know.
Next.
All right.
Time travel. This is at the military museum. They had some funky Jeeps there.
Not so funky Jeep.
Yep, with a
With-
bazooka attached.
And a little, nice.
Mushroom cloud.
What's the thing on the missile thing on the side?
It's a bazooka, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it?
Or it's SAM, surface to air missile launcher.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't even know which is the business end of this. I would point this end at Peter, I think. Is that right?
What did I do?
This is
All the abuse this week.
so this would be an American SAM then. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Tactical nuclear launcher.
Oh, that's
Nuclear. Wow.
a tactical nuke?
Yeah.
Oh,
There you go. 1952 date of delivery.
Davy Crockett Jeep.
Down to the troop level. Davy Crockett Jeep. Yeah. 120 minute launch with low yield battlefield. This is what the Ukrainians need.
yeah.
So why is that in service? Wow, really? Holy. Yeah, okay.
He even has his own display at the back.
Yeah. Wow. Okay,
Amazing.
so Peter, I take that back. I wouldn't point that at you. People mover? Armored?
Caterpillar.
Well, not really armored. Actually, it was amazing how light some of the plating is on some of these, I guess, to keep it, light, basically, reduce the mass. But some of the stuff wouldn't stop too many in these carriers. So,
This thing looked amazing, although I don't know how practical it is.
oh, there's us.
Oh, so you were there.
Yeah. I finally in one picture.
You look a lot more casual than Eric. It's relaxed, eh?
It's because I was posing. That's the homebrew station.
Yeah, homebrew display at the
Oh,
museum.
I wonder when you're gonna get to the homebrew spot.
Suitcase portable radio station. So I'm not sure how homebrew some of this stuff is. Maybe this looks homebrewish.
Yeah.
So
Do not touch.
yeah,
And there's Eric touching.
spy radio. Yeah, that's not homebrew, but anyway. Yep. I don't have to see what though, unfortunately.
That's an old telephone switching system.
Oh, let's not go there.
A switchboard, right?
Next slide.
Switchboard.
A switchboard. You know what this looks a lot like? Huh. Interesting.
Next slide.
Except
Next
the
slide.
one I saw has two of these.
Next slide.
Apparently, Brian told us that every Shoppers Drug Mart in the country used to have these for
Yeah.
tube testing.
A drugstore, instead of COVID tests, you had tube tests.
Apparently, yeah. This is an Audion tube on the left. So that was the precursor to the vacuum tube invented by Lee DeForest. He lost a patent case because when he tried to explain how it worked, he had this bizarre theory of electrical fluids flowing through here, which made no sense. So Armstrong showed that he doesn't deserve the patent for the vacuum tube because he didn't quite understand how this thing worked. But he was the originator or inventor of this vacuum tubes in general.
Simon would be proud. It says French TM valve.
Yes.
Yeah. So this guy was nice enough to start one of the tanks for us. And you know, he's kind of walked us through the museum after closing hours, telling us all these stories.
I really need a toupee, don't I?
Yes.
Please.
Or a beret.
Yeah.
All right. This is one of the organizers of the event. He was saying you should have one up in Toronto sometime. VCF North.
Yep. Vintage Computer Festival North. So there is one in West as well. That's why there is an East one. So the West one is happening in August in Mountain View, California, I believe. And then there is another one which seems to be somewhat affiliated, but not officially, called Vintage Computer Festival Midwest, that happens in September in Chicago. So just lest you think this is an isolated event, no, these are all 3 annual events. So it just shows you how vibrant this niche hobby is. So.
Well, 4 days in May North worked out pretty good.
True. And I think that's it. We're done because that is well,
Eric's cottage.
yeah, kind of.
That's how Eric greeted me when I showed up to come in the front door. He had all this crap in front, wouldn't let me in.
Well, I mean, I needed to, okay, never mind. This is being recorded. So.
That's where all you guys had to sleep, right?
Notice the number of the cottage is hidden.
Comfy blankets, rain protection. I take care of my guests. So.
Yeah, he said he would supply the bedding. Yeah.
All right, so I think that is it for our VCF slideshow. So, well, I guess we are moving on to questions and answers, or hint. Anybody who went had a great time, and who didn't go, well, you missed a good time. So
Sucks to be you.
Yeah, might want to consider making the trek. It's about 9 hours on the road to get there, so it is a commitment. But I don't know. I could say I didn't look at my watch too many times throughout the weekend. Let's put it that way, other to make sure I was on time for things. So just, again, barely scratching the surface when it came to just talking to the people and seeing the enthusiasm and, the new projects that people continue to work on. You can pretty much, like old vintage cars, get replacement parts for everything, so much that you can build a Apple II from parts, basically, in 2022, new parts. So pretty fascinating. So, all right. So any questions? Anybody curious about anything? Anything we might have seen that I'm curious whether we would have seen? No. All good? Okay. All right. So I guess that would be then Michael, if you were
Well, I'm a bit confused because I thought you wanted me to sort of summarize what
Sure, go ahead.
And then people
Yeah,
can add
that's
or
the-
something. How's that? That work?
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you go ahead.
So I went up on Monday, got there early afternoon, I guess, and only got lost once getting there. GPS turned me the wrong way or something. I made a wrong turn anyway. GPS told me I was going the wrong way, so I went back and I arrived anyway. And it was pretty good. I thought when I got there, people were setting up antennas, and I wrote this stuff down here. And there was a lot of stuff going on. I thought it was very, very interesting. And on Monday night, we participated in the CARX CW net, and I have a QCX transceiver that I had built probably 3 or 4 years ago and never used. So I actually tried it out, and it worked. I was actually able to send intelligible CW, it appears. But anyway, so I tried it out. It was really interesting to see that it worked. So what I'm going to do is spend some more time on it now and practice a bit. So when I got there, people were setting up antennas, and there were, where did I write it down? There were a couple of end-fed antennas, weren't there?
Yeah, just the one. Just
One? I thought there were two. I thought there were 2 antennas there.
two antennas, just one end fed and one off center.
Yeah, and I guess it was Peter and you and Dave were working on those, and Kevin, right?
Oh, that's right. That's right. There were 3 antennas. Only one
Yeah.
end fed though.
And I had never seen some of these antennas, the little PC board. That I thought that was pretty interesting. Discussion about grounding them and how to do the ground plane and stuff like that. And they were just strung out in the trees, which I thought was interesting. And there was a magnetic loop there. I think that was Kevin's, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And so we looked at those in the afternoon, got them all set up, and something I had never seen was the RBN, that reverse beacon network. I'd never actually played with that. It was interesting to see that using that, you could actually get your signal report back, somewhat like PSK reporter, same idea, but I thought that was interesting. And the antennas were, if I remember correctly, we were getting reports sort of down the US Eastern Seaboard, right? That was sort of the area, I thought.
And Midwest too, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, Midwest, and then when the power went up, further afield, Virgin Islands, U.S. Virgin
Oh,
Islands,
that's right, yeah.
and then Europe. So,
Not saying it was in, that was.
So people brought radios and stuff. So Kevin had his 897, and he fiddled around with that. And Eric had a 7300, which you just tried for the first time, right? Is that right?
yeah, it was unboxed here. Yep.
And you also had a KX3. Is that, I got that right? Was that your KX3?
Soon.
No, it's not.
By tomorrow, it'll be mine.
No, it's mine.
Hey, what?
Yeah,
It's
no,
mine.
yeah, it's Peter's, but I have an 817.
Oh, that's the other one. That's right. Yeah, that's right. And Eric spent a lot of time getting WSJT working, which in the end worked really well. But we were talking about the fiddling around you have to do to make these things work. And I use JTDX here, and the interface with the logging program is a problem, and I'm using a USB to serial cable, and
Michael,
90% of the time it works, but sometimes it doesn't.
Michael,
And then
can I
you're
say
into,
something here?
say what?
I just want to make a comment.
Yeah.
It got to the point when trying to configure that program with Eric's laptop, everybody went to bed, and Eric stayed up to what, 3 o'clock in the morning, but you got it to work.
1 a.m.
1 a.m.
Anyway.
Oh yeah.
One of those.
Yeah.
But he got it going. And when we came down in the morning for breakfast and stuff like that, Eric was just like a little boy at Christmas because he got it all up and running.
Yeah, and I find, like, I use JTDX and JT Alert on a laptop, and I was USB to serial cable, and I got one of those power USB hubs, and sometimes it works and no, most of the time it works properly, but then sometimes it doesn't, and I'm into trying to restart the computer 3 or 4 times, or something's happened, and the USB codec, you look at the mic, you eventually look at the microphone setups and the speaker setups, and it's the internal computer stuff, and of course it doesn't work. But it takes a lot of time to do that kind of stuff. Anyway, so yeah, so after a lot of effort, Eric got his stuff working. And you're able to work overseas too, right? You with 100 watts, you got overseas with it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. To
Pretty good.
Homebrew and other points. Yeah.
And Eric spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to get his basic plus license, basic with honors license, right?
That's it.
And we started out on a phone with the questions or something. Then we realized we had a TV, and one of those smart TVs, which I don't have. But anyway, we put the questions up, and Eric was spending a lot of time looking at the question, and Dave kept saying, well, just look at the question, just look at the answer, eliminate what you know isn't right, and that kind of stuff. But Eric insisted on.
They did over 10 questions. Dave ended up saying, that's a stupid question.
And Eric insisted on understanding stuff as opposed to just blindly answering the questions and guessing.
That was crazy.
And I regret to say that Eric knew more than Dave and I did at some point. Got the right answers, and we got the wrong answers.
No, he didn't.
No,
It's a lie.
No, it's a lie.
That's a lie.
Wanting to understand
That's a lie.
things, the man should be horsewhipped. Jeez.
So what else? Yeah. So yeah, that was Eric, and I think that's pretty well everything. Eric, pretty well. I think.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
And my purpose in going up was to understand my new spectrum analyzer and learn how not to blow it up, which would happen to the first one, which Siglent replaced under warranty. It was something to do with. Well, I had a linear at the time, and I tested the linear at about 600 watts, and a couple of days later I looked at the spectrum analyzer, which I had plugged in, and the little flashing light that tells you it's alive was telling me it was dead, and I couldn't turn it on. So this was only a couple of days after I'd bought the spectrum analyzer, and I called RCCE in Toronto here, the company I got it from, and they just took it back, no questions asked, and gave me a new one. And so my objective going up to Eric's place was to learn how to use this thing properly, make sure that I hadn't damaged it in the interim, learn how to use my oscilloscope properly, and learn how to understand what was happening with the PARC signal generator and square wave outputs, and how to analyze them, and all that kind of stuff. And we'll be talking about that at the next presentation, was next time out. But yeah, so I did all that, and got to learn to how to use it. And the other thing was, the thing that I thought was interesting was the QCX. And I have to say that I supposedly know CW, but I worked a guy in Ireland a couple of days, like maybe 3 or 4 days ago, and I do a lot of DXing, so that's easy. You can recognize your call sign, so that's really easy. You know who the other guy is, that's even easier. So talking to this guy in Ireland, I'm saying, this is the first time I've actually had a QSO, real QSO, and I'm saying to myself, oh, I hope all he wants to do is give a signal report and go away. But no, he wanted to talk. He wanted the usual stuff, and I had to fumble around, and hopefully I was reasonably intelligible. But anyway, so I got to use the QCX, which I thought was really good. And yeah, Peter, you had your scope and your oscilloscope and the essay as well, and we played around with that and learned about that, and got pretty well the same results with everything, we thought, which was pretty good. And Dave helped a lot with that stuff. And Peter, you're working on the Pixie. Did you get it running?
The Pixie was running, but the LT Spice Pixie circuit is not running. So,
I was going to say, I thought it sort of worked.
Yeah, but I had to eliminate that particular diode.
Oh yeah,
spice
weird.
simulation to work, but that's not right. You know, I'm trying to get the spice simulation to work as the board was built.
And yeah, so Dave had his transistor curve tracer there and his breadboarded thing, and that was interesting to see how that actually worked. And he actually draw traces. That's amazing. And Dave advised on the spectrum analyzer and the scope and the LT spice stuff. So yeah, and Eric and Peter provided the meals, the breakfast, and I just wanted personally to thank Eric for his hospitality and having us up there.
You're welcome.
Anyway, yeah, I'm glad you heard that. Yeah, so that was really good. I really enjoyed myself. A really nice time and learned a lot in the couple of days I was up there, which I thought was really important for me. Hey, so yeah.
What everybody that came didn't realize is that there is a price to pay for coming up, which is
Thank you.
leaving behind one piece of equipment at my choosing, or you know, if you don't you know, offer anything, then it'll just be taken. So Kevin left, and you know, he graciously you know, stumped up, and you know, the others, well, we'll see what happens. But so far, I'm doing all right.
Well, I thought I had left. This would have been my contribution, my reading glasses, but I found it here, so I didn't. Yeah.
All right.
So I
well,
made sure.
You don't know what you're missing yet. Have you done a complete inventory of your stuff?
Not yet, but
Yeah.
but I think I got all the important stuff. I was pretty careful to make sure I took everything. As far as I know, unless there's a fake stuff in here. Maybe somebody put a fake spectrum analyzer in the box. I don't know. The question of the day is how to put the spectrum analyzer and the oscilloscope back in the plastic foam stuff to make it all fit. That's the big question. And you put it back in the box. Anyway, yeah, it was a good time. Thanks.
Great. Okay, very good. Anything that I guess
Anything.
you wanted to add?
One thing I liked was the ability just, you know, get my, you know, I bought that NFET no tune antenna from Dayton, 3 years ago. So I finally got around to testing that out, see how well that worked, and I was quite pleasantly surprised at that. The other goal I had was that, besides what's already been mentioned, was having a look at my Arduino. Of late, I've been trying to develop my own Arduino and not have to worry about buying one. Mainly because I happened to have a couple of those the 328 chips on hand, so I might as well try to do something with them. But I couldn't get the serial stuff to work, and the I2C wasn't working. So talking to a couple of the guys here, I got some good ideas. Ran out of time to actually work on it, but we had a little discussion about it, and I got a couple of ideas. So when I get back to the shack, I can put that together and hopefully have it up and running. So, and that's what was good about this. We had a lot of talk and chat about well, homebrew stuff, and we can't even we haven't even touched on half the stuff that we talked about. Sorted out, proved, disproved. It was a good exercise. We'll talk more at the next meeting, but proving that you know learning how the scope handles peak to peak versus RMS voltages, and confirming that with the spectrum analyzer was kind of really good to see the two instruments and confirming what they're seeing, and actually in some cases we had ×2 the equipment, so to see how they all agreed or disagreed. So that was good.
And I got to play with my new Siglent function generator too, which I thought was confirmed. Now I know more or less how to use it.
Yeah,
I hope.
Yeah. As far as the only thing I'd like to add is that I put the NFET antenna that I have that I've used for several years now quite low in a tree, and I was getting slightly less performance than Peter's off-center fed dipole. I'd say maybe 1 to 2% less, which I'm just not really happy with. So
the worms were coming out and sunning.
Nice.
So what happened with the magnetic loop?
I'll tell you how well his antenna was performing. He disconnected my antenna from my rig and put it over to his rig. So I went off the air. So there you go.
So Peter has much nicer coax than I that I got schooled on as well. So I learned something new about coax and how you should treat coax and how you shouldn't wrap coax like an extension cord around your arm. So anyway, so you know we all learn some things as we meet up. That's what's really good about this event. So anyway, but as the antenna goes, I'm getting very poor performance on it. So it could be the coax, but also could be the height at the end. Some of the stubs that are hanging down it's a quad band antenna, 10, 15, 20, and 40, or one of them's almost touching the ground. So that's probably not ideal. Plus I reoriented it. It's slightly wrapped around a tree trunk. So anyway, that's tomorrow morning's job, is to compare its current configuration to a little higher elevation and more what it's been like, to be honest with you. So anyway, so that's what I'm kind of experimenting with. As well as learning my way around the 7300.
And speaking about coax, Kevin showed me how to wind coax without, he was talking about coiling stuff up the proper way to do it so it doesn't kink. And I got to try that on my extension cords, my lawnmower cords and stuff, and see what happens. Yeah.
All right. Dave?
No. You've been so loud all week and now you're quiet?
No.
What did you learn?
Kevin, I learned, I don't know.
All right. Well, thank you, Dave.
Dave was the teacher.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. So, learned so much.
I learned that Eric's going to pass his exam. He said he committed. He's going to write it.
Committed already.
Tell us when, Kevin. Eric, when are you going to do it?
So who in the group is an examiner?
Next week? The exam next week?
Maybe, at the rate I was going last night. But who can do it? Who can administer?
Well, I don't know. I do know that that Basil Burgess down here is our delegated examiner. He might do it. I think George Gorslin, VE3YV, is a delegated examiner. He's in Toronto. But Basil does his stuff online. Like you answer the exam online with Zoom.
Right.
So I can send you his details if you want.
Sure. What was his name again?
Basil Burgess, VE3JEB, Juliet Echo Bravo.
Okay.
Isn't Simon an examiner?
I thought Peter Taylor was.
Okay. So
Yeah, it might be easier to do it with you guys to do it up in Brampton rather than somebody. Oh, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, but Simon. Okay. Well,
check with Simon too.
Right. Okay. Very good. Simon. What's his name? What's Simon's last name?
Bartlett.
Burlett? No, that's his company. Is that his last name too?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Simon, anyway. All right. Okay.
Simon Cotton you're talking about.
Sorry?
Simon Cotton you're talking about, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, Claughton. That's right. Simon Claughton. Thank you. Yep. Okay.
Peter Manbridge is also an examiner in Brampton.
What's his name? Sorry?
Pierre Manbridge.
Oh, Pierre Manville, VA3PM, yeah.
Yeah, PM. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's just down the street from me.
The CW. Yes.
Is that the same Pierre that goes to
Yes.
Dayton?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
write your exam at Dayton. You got 2 weeks, buddy.
Well, no, I'd be doing the general exam in Dayton.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, maybe I'd do that first.
No, do the Canadian one first.
All right. Hello, Frank. All right. Well, why don't we start with what's on your mind, what's on your bench discussion. And since your microphone is unmuted, Frank, why don't you start? You're the first on our clockwise rotation. So what's...
Okay, fair enough. I actually got something to talk about this week. You're talking about vintage things. Let's go back to 1989, and there was an article in magazine called Homebrew or something like that. Anyway, by a fellow named Rick Littlefield, K1BQT. And he put an article out about a QRP transceiver for 20 meters. That's, where are we? Anyway, I was fascinated by that. And the first really successful QRP project I did was to build the 20 meter, there it is there, 20 meter QRP rig. It took about 2 years to build it. And finally, with the help from Rick Littlefield, who I met in Dayton, I was able to solve a few problems and get that running. That's the rig that got me interested in QRP. And I didn't look back after that one. At the same Dayton event, a company called Radio Kit were kitting the same product. So they put out a kit of the same rig, but it was 40 meters. And I bought one of those. That's the inside of it. I bought a bare board.
Recording is on.
Looks something like this at Dayton from PARC, a company that made the boards at that time, and built the 15 meter rig. Well, I never did get it working properly. It would have low output and whatnot. And over the ensuing 30 years, I had borrowed a few parts from it, etc. Well, I got it in my head, I wanted to build something. So I dug it out, and that's what I've been working on. That's the 15 meter rig, considering that the sunspots are getting a little bit better. So it's taken me quite a while to get, whoops, something just fell out. Anyway, there's as far as I'm going. And yesterday I did the smoke test on it, and the receiver, I was able to trace my finger putting on the different places on the chips. Incidentally, this was the person that made popular the 602. Yeah. He was it 604, isn't it?
602.
612 for that group. Anyway, he made that popular for amateur radio, and MFJ picked up the design, and they've produced, still available, I think, a rig for it. Only the difference is theirs uses surface mount chips, but the circuitry is identical to what Rick Littlefield has put out. So, and Rick Littlefield also is a QRP Hall of Fame member. So there's in honor of him and his work in amateur radio. And hopefully I'll dig in there and finally get the whole thing working when the bands open up. So that's what's on my bench.
That's a lot.
Frank, can you hold again that you first showed that page with that 1989, I think you said?
Yeah, it's January 1989, the NE602. It was 602. Let's see if I can get.
Right. So an NE602 QRP for 20 meter. Huh. Okay. And that was in the QST. That was QST, right?
No, that was a. Initial was something that's there. It is there at the bottom.
It's hard to see. It's too blurry.
Yeah, zoom, pull it back a little bit so we could focus.
No, we can't read it.
No,
Elector?
you're going to have to expand it.
Elector, maybe?
No, there. Yeah, I can't. It's not focusing on it, Frank.
No. Okay.
It was in called Ham Radio, January 1989, page 9. So it's just called Ham
Yep.
Radio magazine.
Ham radio. Okay.
Yeah.
No.
There's an oldie but a goodie.
Good to see you melting solder again, Frank.
Oh yeah, that's fun. The only problem is I have borrowed a few parts from it, but fortunately my stock of spare parts has increased over the last 30 years. And I had all the parts that I had pulled out of it as spares now, with one problem, and is that they were like new old stock or old new stock. They a lot of them have oxidized and were a devil to solder in. But other than that, I was able to get it going, and I've got a few wires hanging out still here and here, but hey, it's a work in progress. Hopefully I'll have it on 15 meters before long.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Frank.
Hey.
Go back to the gallery.
Yeah, it's Ken.
Okay, so Ken, yes, you are next up on the hit list.
No, not me.
It's you. Sorry.
So I haven't been doing much. I wanted to start on that old Heathkit receiver. I'm still waiting for one tube to arrive from California. So it hasn't been started yet. Al, remember about a year ago, I was demonstrating that little portable multi-band radio, the AST-20.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. Well, I just found out in the last month there are several sellers on AliExpress and in Banggood and eBay who are selling the boards off the manufacturer's floor. And I happened to get one of them. There's a rash of them out there. And what the reason mine isn't working is the AM input to the chip is gone. So I talked to Ricardo on the group, and he recommended a couple of sellers of the SI 4732, and I got a couple coming on the way. So apparently all I have to do is just change the chip, and that's it. And upgrade their firmware.
Very cool.
But apparently there's a lot of them out there with the problem. So anyways, that's basically what I've been working on. As far as the DCR is going, I think we're just about at the point where I'm gonna say, talk to Kelly and get the boards ordered for it. That's it.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to skip over you, Michael, because I think we've got a kind of idea of what you've been doing for the past few days. So unless there's anything that you want to add that you're doing at home, give you the opportunity. You're muted, so.
Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, this is ZL2CM. Charlie Morris does. Where I was talking about this this week. ZL2CM. He's got a whole bunch of YouTube videos, and he talks about the design of his circuits and whatnot. And he uses this this board with the traces on it, and I built this circuit. It worked at one point. Doesn't work anymore. Not sure why. No obvious smoke. But what I want to do is take this and make the board. What Charlie does is he has the first line across the board is negative, and then the next negative bus, and the next line beside it is positive, and then he puts all his parts in, and at the bottom of the board it's another negative bus. And this is all, I've done it. It works. It's all very cramped. What I want to do is build the board wider, so I got more space to do things like play with components and put feedback in and stuff like that. But I need more space, so I'm going to redo the board. That's my plan. Plus, also fiddling around with the SA and the signal generator and stuff from this week. Yeah. So that's all I got.
Okay. Thanks, Michael. Wayne, you are next up.
So what I've been working on is a tuned preamplifier. They call them pre-selectors. Hopefully it'll be used for the direct conversion receiver eventually. I actually want to risk losing my voice online here by trying to show you the screen for a second. I'll show you what I tried. So let me just, all right. You know what? I forget how to do this all the time. All right, so I want to just go to a specific window, share that. All right, can people see that or not?
Yes.
Yep, it's working.
Okay, so what this is the breadboard is actually something I used to use for crystal radio sets. So that's a whacking big 3-section variable capacitor. And I've got a couple of toroids on a switch because I was attempting to see if I could get coverage for the entire HF band. That didn't work on this. The reason is you can see there's some very ugly long leads there as I was messing around with it. And they added enough parasitic inductance that it basically compressed the allowable range to be even narrower than you would expect if you were doing like a single gauge one. Anyways, I did decide to change it. What I did is I built my double tuned section. I rebuilt it onto the board itself, and that looks like it's going pretty good right now. So I'm getting good performance. So this is one of those Me pads from QRP Me. All they did is I tacked a couple of inductors I got from China. These are cylindrical, what you call it, like a solenoid style instead of toroids, because they have ferrites in them that I can move up and down and sort of tune out the variation between the two sets of varactors. And so I'm getting decent looking performance here and there. Sorry, I just knocked myself out. So I get fairly decent performance. The actual floor for this thing, 0 is 45. So this is up at 20, so that's about 25 dB above the floor that I set for the spectrum analyzer. It's minus 20 plus a pad I put in just to make sure I didn't smoke my expensive spectrum analyzer. So basically that's where I am right now. I'm going to have to rebuild the amplifier. It's good. It's very strong. In fact, I overbuilt it, so it's got too much power, and it's actually producing harmonics and stuff like that. So I'll have to quiet it down a bit. So that's it.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Sure.
Am I right? Am I interpreting the spectrum analyzer graph correctly that the actual true insertion loss is 0.43 dB? Is that right? Because you had minus 20.43, I think, and you said you had 20 dB of attenuation extra.
I have 25 dB attenuator. Let me just bring the actual application up because I can't actually see what yours. I turned it off. So you're still looking at what I was showing, right?
No, you showed the SA
Oh, okay.
graph.
Yeah. So what it was showing was, how should I say it? It was a minus 20 signal through the tracking generator, and I put a 25 dB pad before that. So the actual floor would have been minus 20, and that was way above that. It was like 20, 25 dB above that. That makes sense? Do you want to see it again?
No, it's okay. No, it's all right. I'll talk to you later about it. I don't want to take
Yeah.
people's time.
The
Okay.
bottom line is it works fine, except it works excessively well. Basically, it keeps growing. It goes up to like 40 dB, and that's where you start seeing interesting harmonics coming out of it. It's just probably transmitting. That's it. Cancel that. So I shouldn't be sharing my screen anymore if I did it right.
No, you're not. You're good, Wayne.
Okay. Okay.
All right. If there's no other questions, thank you very much, Wayne, for that. All right, and Dwayne, we'll get with you next. What's going on?
Oh, let's see if I got this thing working here. I've been kind of like sharing Wednesdays with club up in Northern Virginia. They're building a direct conversion receiver. So the last little while I've been working on one of their projects, and I've got my, if I can see it in here, little circuit board that I made up for. This is their audio amplifier and the low noise preamp that's going into it. Interesting looking at the stuff there on the computer show there. I saw a couple of things that looked vaguely familiar in the one run up of the QRP ham shaft or whatever that was there. You got an old R390. I got one of those sitting downstairs that I bought in Bangkok, something in like 1974 or something like that. And if I want to look at older computers, I can go out to the garage, and I got one of the old computers from the system that I worked on. They kind of retired it just a couple of years after I started there 30 some years ago. But it's an interesting 20-bit computer. I still got a bunch of the paper tape to run some programs into it if I really wanted to. But the interesting thing on it is got 3 8K core stacks in it. So it's probably not the most modern computer out there. That's about all I've been doing here.
All right, very good. Sorry, apologies. We didn't have time to come down. I guess I don't know how far it is to drive from New Jersey to Georgia, but I guess we weren't too far. We could have come down. We only made it as far as Atlantic City. So I don't know. Is that close to Georgia?
Oh, we can probably make it in a day. There's a interesting thing if you go and take a look at the Atlanta Computer Museum. It's I haven't been there in a couple of years, but if I remember correctly, they have the largest collection of Cray computers in the world set up in their display, along with a whole bunch of the other things. There's a couple of YouTube videos of it, about a year or two, probably before the COVID stuff, when they had a walkthrough of the stuff like that, and you go through the first part of the hall, and you're like surrounded by Crays.
Right. Wow. Yeah, no, actually, I did get a list of all of the computer museums throughout, I think primarily the US, but there might have been some Canada and Europe as well. But apparently the biggie is out in California, the Computer History Museum, I think it's called, something plainly like that. But apparently that is the place to go if you have an interest. I don't know where it is, probably Silicon Valley or somewhere in that.
San Jose, probably down around there.
It's in Mountain View.
Yeah.
Is it Mountain View?
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
So, all right. One thing actually I wanted to mention, I will get to you, Al, in a minute, but I wanted to share this with you, which is something I picked up at a little treat in addition to my Apple II is a core memory demonstration kit. So it's a 64-bit, and you actually have to thread and Frank, you might appreciate this because I think you talked about core memory in a presentation at our homebrew group some time ago. But yeah, you actually have to wire up all of the little, are they toroids, or I don't know what you call them, little magnetic cores. Yeah, I guess for lack of a better term. So yeah, it's a little bit of a time-consuming project, but once you do, it's interfaced with a microcontroller, and it's a little bit of a learning experience, flipping your bits and all of that. So anyway, so yeah,
It's time to go home.
This guy was here, and he was talking all about them, and it was, I don't know, whatever. What does it come with? An OLED and so on and so forth. So anyway, kind of cool. So that's it there. So there you go. That was something I just wanted to share with the gang here. I don't think there was too much else that I wanted to bring up, so I will stop sharing my screen now and go back to Al. You are, I believe, the last on our list. So what's the rest of the table?
I'd like to say saving the last for the best, or the best for the last, but it's not quite that way. Anyhow, I don't have a lot to report. I've been absent for the last 6 weeks, some family issues. So I'm back. Got a couple projects that I talked about over the last few months. I'm still working on that Sprat magazine handheld SWR power meter. I did successfully get the boards etched. By golly, that was a challenge. They used very, very small surface mount components, and it was quite literally pushing the limits of my ability. I etched boards numerous times and just could not get clear pathways made. So finally got a couple of boards off, so that's good. So the next step is try to populate this. So what else? I think I mentioned I'm working on a regen receiver, a small little thing. So when I think I parted that out and got everything ready. So over the next month or two, I'm actually going to heat up the soldering iron and see if I can't make this thing work. So really, that's about all I've got. But anyhow, it's good to be back in the saddle again, and good to see you fellas. So good presentation tonight, Eric. I really enjoyed that. Nothing else to offer. So Eric, I'll pass it back to you if anybody else has anything further.
Okay, thanks, Al. Well, I guess the local table here, the gang of thieves may have her 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. So I don't know. We'll start with the.
I know he's talking about flipping bits and horses of the apocalypse. Like,
Dave, what's on your bench?
What's on my bench? You. No, you're on my back.
Like a monkey?
Nope, nothing on my bench. Just been here taking abuse from you guys.
All right. Well, that's it. Dave is kind of speechless. I think he's just in awe of our times at the Vintage Computer Festival, and he just, wishes he could have been there. So
no, I'm in awe of our trip into Gravenhurst and letting you into that store.
Looking at a switchboard. So anyway, just to mention as well that we might do this again next year, the Vintage Computer Festival. And
I thought you were talking about 4 days
cottage,
at Eric's Cottage.
4 days at Eric's Cottage. Well, yeah, I think that's for sure. So if anybody wants to keep that in mind, we may do this again. It was a successful event, and it may just occur. So it's about an hour and a half north of, the GTA, if you're not right down in the core. So anyway, Peter, how about yourself?
Well, I'm still working on that project that's almost becoming boring. Just like you guys are probably bored to listen to me talk about it every month for the past 2 years. But anyway, I'm getting closer to finishing it. The next step is the development of my version of an Arduino or microcontroller board. I'm kind of stuck to actually get it to work because I was a little bit in a hurry, and when I successfully uploaded a program to it and it worked fine, I milled a new board and populated it. It took about 4 hours to mill the board and about 30 minutes to populate it. But anyway, now I want to make sure I use that board. So I have to make sure I get this microcontroller board working. And, but that's been pretty much it. Can't do much else with the shack because actually my whole shack is just about here except for the parts. It took me 3 hours to get the car packed up.
But you blew out a lot of cobwebs from in behind the equipment.
Well, yeah, there was an advantage there because when I saw all the dust that was behind where all the stuff was sitting.
Did you find anything you've been missing for a while?
Yes.
Okay. Success then.
That's it.
All right. Okay, thank you. And I guess Hassan, you were last. You want maybe get you in frame here,
or are you trying to be out of frame?
No, it's fine. I'll just shift over. All right, so I picked up a 6502 kit at the VCF.
What's that?
6502?
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't know anything about the 6502 until last
Are you
week.
serious?
I've never programmed it.
But you knew what the
I knew what it
6502.
was, but I never knew anything about. I didn't know it had only one register.
Hold it. Does anybody else know does anybody else here does not know what a 6502 is? One.
I have no idea.
3 of us.
Okay,
carry on.
So all right, so it's this ultra simple.
Does it come in a plastic bag that you can eat?
So it's part of computer history legend. Like Bender from Futurama, he has 6502 in his brain.
Oh, God. Wow. The kids love that show. I hated it.
Yeah. So basically, it's an ultra simple processor. Motorola. It was designed by Chuck Peddle at Motorola. So they were selling like $1,000 mini computers. And then he had this idea to build this $20 microprocessor that would have the same performance. And they told him, under no circumstances are you going to build this. So he took that as a sign to go ahead and do it. He left. He quit the company, and he took it as a legal, acknowledgement that Motorola was not interested in it. So he went and developed it on his own, and he's not competing with them because they're not interested. So they used it in the Commodore 64, the Apple II, just about every computer in the 70s, like the home computer, the PET. And it's amazing. It's got 3 registers, 2 for addressing, 1 for arithmetic.
An accumulator.
A, X, and Y.
Yeah.
Dirt simple to program, 8-bit microcontroller, 64K memory, and anyone who programs it loves it. It's just so amazing. And yeah, so there's a guy called Ben Eater who has these videos where he breadboards these kits. And I swear to God, I watched that video. I had wanted to do something like this, like get into some vintage computers. But when I saw his video, I felt so fulfilled. I realized I don't have to do it. I understand everything. And I think anybody who understands ASCII and 8-bit arithmetic could look at this video and understand exactly how a computer works. Yeah. It's the best tutorial I have ever seen. Ben Eater.
It's in the chat.
Yeah, it is unbelievable. I can't believe I can't believe everything else I've seen about microprocessors is like 1,000 times more difficult. This guy makes it look trivial, and it's amazing. And he's yeah.
Maybe you should get him to explain square waves.
Yeah. Well, oh yeah. So, anyways, highly recommend that.
See the schematic?
One more thing about the VCF thing, I forgot to mention that Swedish guy, Johan Grip, he actually reverse engineered a chip from the Commodore 128, and so he took the package off. He got a microscope. He got into a microscope obsession, so he bought another one and built an XY table for it. But he took pictures of this chip. It was so old that it was like large enough to actually see with the naked with a microscope. He took pictures of it, drew the artwork, and then he reverse engineered the schematic and figured out how the thing works. And he's on stage talking about his reverse engineering, and the guy who designed the chip is in the audience. And they're like, why did you do this thing? He's like, I don't remember. Oh yeah, I think it was for this. And then the guy was like, yeah, I found this and I reasoned it had to be this way. And he's confirming it. And it has
that's cool.
amazing interaction. And then there's like the whole Commodore gang was together for the first time in 30 years. And they were all just like shouting across the room, why did we do this? And we didn't have enough time. So they took a shortcut.
Yeah.
But that was an amazing work of like effort the guy did. I mean, reverse engineering is a skill they don't teach in school, but it is like the most important skill to getting anything actually done in this world. So very underused skill. So apart from that, I bought a Heathkit vacuum tube voltmeter for like $10, and I tried it out. It kind of works, but I need to build probes for it, and I need a new battery for the old meter.
Which
VT6.
I'm familiar with that one. Okay.
So yeah, I think it works. The AC kind of works, but I need proper probes and all that. So
Good luck.
I know.
Well, we will talk after this.
Okay.
Looks like Ken, you have a question? You're muted still.
He's muted.
So in college, when I started college in 77 or 78, whenever it was, my first assembly language experience was with the Zilog Z80 8-bit computer chip. And it was strictly assembly language. And I ended up driving a old school liquid crystal display with it. The ones with the 50 pins on it, and you had to solder it on a board. But that was the Z80 was quite a well-known chip as well.
It was designed by Federico Fagan, who actually invented the microprocessor at Intel, but then he left to start his own company, and he started Z80. And Intel was so pissed off, they wrote him out of their official history, so they don't give him any credit for inventing the microprocessor.
Cool.
Boy, I must have missed something in my youth. Instead of playing with computers, I was interested in girls.
And look what you have begat. All right. Okay, that's great. Yeah, well, thanks for that was a lot of nice little commentary, Hassan, on the events of the weekend.
Oh, one more thing, we saw an ENIAC as well. They had it running.
Oh, I heard of that.
Yeah,
That was in that computer
Museum,
history
yeah.
that I missed. Yeah, so I missed that. Yeah,
we were a few minutes too late.
yeah, got there right at closing.
Oh, it was closed at 4 p.m. So, but they actually had it running with the paper tapes and the spools.
Yeah.
Well, all the early ENIAC programmers were women, so you might have.
I might have been in the background. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, very good.
yeah. All right. I don't think anyone was missed. Does anybody have any other comments they'd like to make?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Okay, I got to get going here in a minute. Are we going to have another get-together later on in the summer?
Well, so we've got field day coming up in next month, I guess it is now. As far as a one-day event, you're thinking?
One day or a couple of days, maybe a weekend. I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of enjoyed the one at your place last year.
Coming up for the substitute field day, right?
Yeah, but we're doing the live field day this year.
So that's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, actually, I just floated the idea, not necessarily this summer, but I suggest we do a get together for winter field day. Now, granted, we do it indoors. We can look at the winter through a window and run the coax through a crack in the window or something. But I don't know. I mean, winter field day is a thing, right? And would be an opportunity to get together. So anyway, I'm just suggesting a little trial balloon here to see if that would be something of interest to one and all. So I don't know where we are here. Are we all kind of in frame again? So
one of the things we were talking about, Ken, was the possibility of doing a camping trip. Like a canoe trip or a camping trip, and it'll be like radio, like what Peter and Kevin does, like that wrap thing.
Yeah,
So
right.
we're
Park wrap.
talking about, yeah, we're talking about doing that to a local place, you know, where we just go and somewhere where it's not a lot of work to go and set up. Right? Something a little bit wilderness-ish, you know?
Yeah. Well, I do that every year when I go camping.
Yeah. No, but more of a get together. We're doing a
Places where we have
like
to use
like
a boom
this,
boat.
right? You know?
Yeah. Anyways, I gotta get going, guys.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So we'll talk to you later, guys. Have a good night, everybody.
All right.
Okay.
Good night.
Yeah.
So,
Take care.
So good night, everybody. Thanks for attending, and we'll see you in a couple weeks for our regular meeting.
Okay. Have a good evening. 73 to all.
Yep. All right.
Take care. Good seeing you, Frank.
Cheers, guys.
Okay. Bye.